But what is interesting for me is to see that this kind of local activities are not stepping back to these hutongs, which is quite nearby, but they are rather treating these blocks as two separate parts. So they start to reconfigure, trying to searching for better location inside this area, which is again we see the same logic that they occupy a kind of place that is the center of the internal movement, which is clearly or directly connected to outside. And the last part of the example, the last type of urban blocks is just very straightforward because there are very limited number of internal streets, so the activity just directly locates on it. So there's no surprise about it. And the later part of research, I pick out one type of urban functions, which is food market, which is a kind of ideal subject by the central place researchers before. And I'm trying to see if on this local scale, the logic of central place applies, or the logic of interface logic. From this map, we can I counted the number of the vendor stalls inside each market and list them according to the size of the market. In total, there are like 170 markets. So I started with the smallest market, which have at least 5 vendors, to the most busy market, which have more than 600. And from this map, we can see how it's being changed in these 4 years, and how the service range, based on the simple distance, could form a kind of different area with a kind of closed urban places. But of course, as we can see, the geometry of this, the result of this study doesn't really shows a kind of clear logic of central places. For instance, in this area, which is huge, there's only one market, which is not very big, and but they have many small markets. So I was thinking maybe this logic of interface, or the logic of the scaled movement network, could be an alternative model to explain the distribution of market instead of the central place logic. But before that, another things I feel interesting about central place theory is that they normally, when study the rank size of the market, we can still see a kind of a rank size law, which is called scaling laws in the distribution of the market. For instance, this shows the number of the vendors as an indication of size of the market and the rank of the market. And when I log it, it's what we see here is again a kind of a straight line, which this result shows that there's a very limited number of big market with a lot of number of small market, which is a kind of result of this. Actually, this study is normally used by central place researchers as a kind of indication or empirical support of their model. But when I subdivided this study area into 6 sub areas, I want to see if this logic is still there. Actually, what I see from the result here is that it's quite different. For instance, the most contrast example is this sub area and this one. This is the area that I saw before. A huge area only has one big market. Actually, there are many smaller markets, but this area has more larger markets. This gives me an indication that the type of the urban blocks play an important role here, because in this area it's mostly this kind of a hutong structure, the internal structure is based on this densely built grid structure. So in that kind of environment, people's movement are more, they have more choices, they get more easy access to other part of the neighborhood. So maybe in that structure, it's need to have smaller markets for the convenience of the user, but this area is more formed by this gated community, so large urban blocks with very limited number of streets. In that kind of environment, it's quite logical that they form several big food markets instead of a lot of smaller ones. In this sense, I think the type of the location of the market in the scaled in the movement networks could actually reflect better the logic rather than this simple logic of central places. So in this study, I started where each on what scale this market open entrances to, on what level. So this is the connection of individual market in relation with the local street. Actually, most of them directly open to a very well-centered local street, and some of them, the gray color shows this kind of entrance is visible from that local center street. And on the middle scale network, the same logic is that most of the this part is the large market, and when it's coming to here, it's becoming smaller and smaller markets. So more larger markets are directly open on the middle scale movement networks, and on the highest level, most large markets are directly visible from the higher level of the regional or higher level of movement networks. And once superimpose this different scale of network, different scale of movement network together, we could also get the conclusion that most very successful markets occupy more than one scale or more than at least two scale of movement markets. So they are located very strategically. And well, the result of this study, I think, could be used in three things. The first, the change in different scale of the centers of the transportations, and relatively stableness of the scale structure. And well, this actually goes back to the initial thinking about the change and stability. Here we have the central functions, that is